If you've clicked on this video, you're probably learning how to play Heroclix. You've seen it in the shop, you've picked up a starter set, maybe you want to get your son or daughter into it. Maybe you're just a massive Marvel fan, a DC fan, a comic fan in general, and you want to try out this miniature game. In this video, we're going to go through all of the rules. We're going to set up a game and play through a few turns, use some of the abilities, show you how actions are used, all of that stuff you need to get into the game. Honestly, Heroclix is such a fun game once you get into it. I will say it looks very complicated, but once you learn it, it's very simple. It's just learning how things work together. But we're going to get into that in this video, so let's head to the table. So here we are on the Heroclix map. We are currently in a street riot, as you can see in the background, there's some cars and stuff on fire. But thankfully, the Fantastic Four are here to save the day. Or are they? Zoom in a little closer and you will notice they are actually Skrull versions of the Fantastic Four. These are going to be our bad guys for this matchup. We've got the Human Torch there. We've got Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, and obviously to finish it off, the Thing. I will say one of my favorite things about Heroclix is the diversity in figures. There's probably 100 different Thing versions. So it's always a unique experience when you come to the table. Normally when creating a game, you're going to take the point value from here. So in this case, 30 points, and add those up. On a competitive field, you're normally looking at 300 points. For this example, we're going to do 125. So it fits all of these in nicely for 120 and leaves 5 points short. It's important to note you can do that. You can miss out points. It's never a good idea. It's always nice to fill those points, but you won't be penalized for doing so other than having a slightly weaker team. So the points should be balanced to make gameplay and your team building more balanced. But as well as having point values and stuff like team abilities on the dial. So this here is the team ability. We'll explain what that does in a moment. Here's the name of the character, the rarity, set number, and also the set itself on top of there. And then we've got the dial. This is what makes Heroclix unique. So looking at the dial up here, the movement, the foot, we've got their movement. So this can move 10 squares. Just below that, the fist is the attack, which is currently 10. So basically when you make an attack, you take your attack value, which in this case is 10. You roll 2 dice and then you will compare it to their defense value. So let's say he was attacking himself, which you can't do, or another character with 18. He has 10 attack, he would need an 8 to hit, and equal is a hit. So in this case, we roll the dice, we roll a 7, that wouldn't hit. Let's say you did hit. Let's say instead of rolling a 7, we rolled a 10. So you would take your damage, which is the starburst symbol over here. So in this case, it does 3 damage. So if you hit a character, you deal your damage. In this case, it would be 1, 2, 3 clicks of the dial. And it's as simple as that. Obviously the powers and things are going to make it a lot more interesting, a lot more of a dynamic and creative game. You can get really creative with some of your teams and using some of the abilities. It makes it a very tactical game, which is why I'm such a big fan of it. But we're going to get into that in a moment. Obviously we need some heroes to defeat the Skrulls. Before we jump into that though, let's take a quick look at something else you'll get with a figure, the cards. So on this card, it's going to have all of the abilities it can use at different points. It's going to have a fun name for the ability, so something which would explain what they're doing. So for example, wrapped arm squeeze would describe what the attack is doing, and then below that is the actual ability as you'll find it in the powers and ability card. So I have a list, and at the bottom, like we saw on the dial, there is a team ability. This one is Skrull, so you get shape change, but only succeeds on a 6. If the character can already use shape change, the result of the shape change is +1. So basically, shape change makes it tricky to hit stuff. Skrulls are going to be extra tricky because of their hiding as characters, which is very thematic, and you will find a lot of the times that is the case. Now on the reverse, we've got their dial. So this is going to be the dial, how long they are before they get to the KO clicks. When they hit these KO clicks, they are knocked out. All the information you'll need is on here. This is also available for your opponent whilst you're playing. So for example, let's say you were trying to work out how much damage would KO this guy. You can ask to see your opponent's card and work it out. So it can be a little more tactical where you decide to put your damage, but it also gives you a list of click numbers up here and abilities you have at the time. So that's the cards. You can also get special powers and traits. which a special power is basically normally a combination of regular powers, so it's easier just to combine them into one. Also, traits are going to have more unique abilities, which you'll find in the higher rarity figures normally. I would say traits and special powers is where this game gets really interesting. For now, I've picked characters without those just so we can get used to playing it. So let's, like I say, find some heroes to take down these dastardly villains. The Avengers have been assembled. Unfortunately, the only Avenger, or fortunately, depending how you look at it, the only Avengers available were the big green Hulk. That is a really cool looking sculpt. Absolutely fantastic. Looks powerful as he should. And his, I don't know if they have any relation or they've ever met. I'm sure they have at some point in the comics, but we've got Kate Bishop as Hawkeye. So she's going to be backing him up with some range attacks. As you'll notice, 70 points and 50 points. This is 120 as well, meaning it can be very different how you build your teams. You could have what is basically a swarm team here with loads of little characters, meaning you can take advantage of that. Or you could have a team like this, which is fewer characters, but you would assume more powerful. Let's get into the match and find out if that's the case. So when starting a game, you would normally set up somewhere in this pink area, which is your starting area. However, for our scenario, we are just going to set them up in the middle as if they've already been causing some trouble. And we are going to be putting our Avengers over here to the side. The Hulk down there and Kate Bishop set up on the ledge. Right, so to start the game, your team is going to roll 2 dice. If you are a theme team, so just going back to the cards briefly, up here where it says Skrulls, because they all have the same keyword, in this case Skrulls, it could be monster, this would be classed as a theme team, meaning you would get a bonus of 1, 2, 3, 4 to your roll. In this case, both of these are Avengers, so these also would be a theme team. They would get a +2 to their roll. So let's keep the green dice for the Skrulls. They roll a 7 + 4, which is 11. And then we've got the Avengers over here, which roll an 11 + 2, which is 13. So the Avengers are going to get to choose to go first. So in a regular game, basically your characters would fly up the map and eventually get to this point here. But normally in a friendly game or a casual game, it's going to be just moving stuff up, getting ready to fight. In a more competitive game, you do have to be a little more careful as things can be thrown across the map quite quickly. In this one, that's not really the case, so I've just sped things up. And we are going to go over to the Avengers to kick us off. So when playing a character, you need to look at the dial and which powers are available. So in this case, on the movement, we've got a pink power, which is sidestep. That means the Hulk can move 2 squares for free. So he's currently here. We're gonna go 1, 2 with the Hulk and place him into some hindering terrain. These green markers here are hindering terrain. If you are sat in one, you get a +1 against ranged attacks. The brown squares you can see in the background here are blocking. Basically, they block shots depending where you are. And up here where Kate Bishop is elevated, meaning you can see over things, making it easier to get that shot off. Someone like Hawkeye is going to use these to their advantage. They're basically rooftops, as you can see on the map. So as we mentioned, the Hulk does also have a trait. He's got invulnerability, which means he decreases any damage dealt to him by 2. So in the example earlier, if Mr. Fantastic had dealt him 3 damage, he would reduce that by 2 and only click his dial once. As well as that, friendly characters that are adjacent or have the Avengers keyword can use toughness. So in this example, Hawkeye will also gain toughness, which is good. If we take a look at her dial, she has energy shield deflection, which basically gives her a +2 at range, meaning if you're attacked at range, she has a 19 defense. Obviously, the counter to this is if they get up close, they hit you for the regular 17 and you have no defense powers. Thanks to the Hulk though, she can use toughness as she has the Avengers keyword. Another important thing to note here is her 8 range. Now, that means she can attack from 8 squares away. The 3 bolts here mean she can attack that many characters. So, in this example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She can reach any of these guys other than Mr. Fantastic, who is slightly out of range. Let's take a look at her other powers. She's got an attack power of blue, which is penetrating psychic blast. Basically what we mentioned before with the invulnerability from the Hulk. Penetrating Psychic Blast will ignore that. Go straight through it so it deals full damage. So in this example, we will deal 3 damage if we hit the Hulk. Straight through invulnerability, so that's a good way to get around some of those pesky powers. It's basically to signify her being able to land the perfect shot, the one that's needed to take them down. So yeah, I think it's really cool to have that. It's really important to have that in the game. So in this example, like I said, we basically skipped the first turn. If you stay in your area or don't move or anything like that, you do have immunity. In this case, I'm going to say we don't, just so we can this is just to show you how the game works. So in this example, Hawkeye is going to target Invisible Woman and also the Thing. Why not? She does have 3 targets, but we don't want to kill everything off straight away. So normally you would use everything to your advantage, but in this one, we're just going to target these 2. So we take a look at Hawkeye's attack, which is 12. We then take a look at their defense. So Invisible Woman has a 17. The Thing also has a 17. The Thing is stood in hindering terrain, means they get a +1 bonus. So we would need a 6 to hit here and a 5 to hit here. So remember, we've got the Skrull team ability, so it's got shape change, but only succeeds on a 6. In this case, it fails. That would normally work, but not for this one. And then Invisible Woman, so she has Wild Card. So she would have copied the Skrull team ability. Basically, just lets you copy a team ability, which is really good. She rolled a 3, so again, that's going to go through. The thing about Kate Bishop Hawkeye is that she's got good aim, so obviously she doesn't need to roll as high as some other characters. In this case, we've only rolled a 5. Now, a 5 would hit Invisible Woman, but we really want to hit the Thing. You can actually use something called a theme team probability. So in this case, we're going to use the Hulk to theme team reroll this, which basically gives them probability for the turn, and we've managed to roll a 7. That does mean we hit both characters, so we're going to put 2 damage onto this guy and 1 onto this. So let's do Invisible Woman first. She takes 1 damage, and the Thing has invulnerability, so should block that 2 damage. But remember, we've got Psychic Blast over here, which goes straight through that defense power, dealing 2 damage or 2 clicks to the Thing. Now, the way that worked is I target the characters I want with my character, and then I choose how to divide damage. Obviously, if I didn't have Penetrating Psychic Blast, it wouldn't be worth putting any damage onto this guy because he's just going to ping it off, unless I decided to put all 3. But Kate Bishop's taken her turn now, so we're going to put a token under there to signify she's been. If you ever have 2 tokens, you cannot take an action that turn. You need to rest, which will clear both tokens. Unfortunately, we're not there yet, so we're going to token Kate Bishop. So far, the Hulk has only taken a free action to sidestep, which gives you 2 squares of movement for free. So we are just going to take the Hulk, and we are going to throw him 1, 2, 3, 4 straight into the fray, as the Hulk should be. If we take a look at the Hulk card on the back, you can see starts off fairly weak and then gets to numbers like 12 attack, 4 damage, and flurry later on, which lets us attack twice, meaning just like you would expect from the Hulk, he becomes a monster later on. But that's enough of the good guys. Let's take a look at what the Skrull can do. So let's see what Mr. Fantastic can do. He hasn't got charge, so that means he can't run around and do things. I think the best thing he can do, he can move 10 squares. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And just start to move him over here towards Kate Bishop. The best thing he can do is sort of lock her down at the minute, I think. And then these guys are gonna have to try and deal with the Hulk. So currently the Thing, he's got a 8 movement. Charge means you can half that to 4, and then we can charge. This here gives us +1 to attack and damage. So he's currently 10 for 3. So in this case, we're gonna charge into the Hulk. Okay, I've rolled that off camera, but I need to keep that. That is a critical hit. Now, the way that works is it does an extra damage on top of regular damage. So like I say, currently we get +1 from Close Combat Expert, and then the crit's gonna do 4, which does mean it hits. And he's got invulnerability. He has got combat reflexes, but in this case it was a crit, so it's not gonna matter. So we're taking 4 damage, reduced by 2. So we're gonna go 1, 2 for the Hulk. Once that's happened, we're gonna give a token to the thing, and then we're gonna move back to the other turn. So normally it's 100 points, 200 or 300, because you would get 1 action, 2 actions, or 3, depending on the points. We're gonna say this is 200 for the action point total. Kate Bishop is gonna take a shot into Mr. Fantastic, the Thing, and just those 2, I think. So, Kate Bishop needs a 12 against an 18 and a 17. So we're gonna take a shot. That is a hits on a 16. So we are gonna theme that with Kate Bishop. That is our last theme for those guys, and that is gonna hit both of them. So, Mr. Fantastic has super senses, which you are gonna roll before damage is declared. In this case, he's rolled a 6. We do also need to remember they both have these scroll team abilities. So I'm gonna roll for the Thing. Fails, I'm gonna roll for Mr. Fantastic, even though he's already passed. And that's fine. So Mr. Fantastic can't be hit this turn, meaning all 3 damage goes onto the Thing. 1, 2, 3. And he is now KO'd. So he is gonna come off the field now. He has been knocked out. It does mean Kate Bishop is gonna get another token. So next turn, she is not going to be able to do anything. And the Hulk is now going to get a chance to squish some more scrolls. So if we take a look at him, he can. He's 11 attack, 4 damage, which is pretty good. So we're going to swing into Human Torch as he's looking pretty dangerous. And that is another critical hit. I wish I rolled like this in tournaments. So that is going to deal for 5 damage total. So I am going to need to roll. So I will need to roll the shape change, which should always be rolled before the attack. But I am a doofus, so I haven't. It fails anyway. So he would need to take 5 clicks of damage. So in this example, he might as well use a theme prob to re-roll these dice because it's pretty nasty. Oh my God, what is going on? I'm gonna use their second theme prob with Invisible Woman. And that is a 6, 17, it still hits. It's not a crit anymore, so he's going to take 4 instead. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So notice the 5th click of damage would have killed him. So it's very important that they re-rolled that. And he is just hanging on. The Hulk is going to get a second action token. And then we're going to go back to the scrolls. So Mr. Fantastic is going to continue up here to lock up or get set up next turn against Hawkeye. Down here, we're gonna have Invisible Woman attack the Hulk. So we need a 10 on a 17 with combat reflexes is a 19. So we're actually gonna have this guy back here sidestep. So we need a 4, 5, 6 to break away. In this case, it fails, but it is a free action to try, so that's fine. And then Invisible Woman onto the Hulk, needing a 9. Nowhere near. And she is going to get a token for that. And we are going to pass back to the heroes. Now you will notice both heroes have 2 tokens, so they are both going to rest. And it's going to go straight back to the scrolls in this scenario. If at any point you're seeing abilities you're not really sure about, I have done videos on individual abilities, so go check those out. I'll pop them up somewhere here now. But we're going to continue back into the scrolls turn. As the tides could change here, obviously Mr. Fantastic can't do anything. Invisible Woman could, and so could Human Torch. So we're going to go, Invisible Woman is going to try and sidestep, or sorry, Human Torch. So we're going to go Human Torch into Hulk first, which is just going to miss out. The only problem is with these lower point characters, just how low their stats are in comparison. Invisible Woman might as well try and make an attack as well. So that is a 9. So it is high enough to hit. She has got Incapacitate, so we're going to use that in this attack, which means instead of damage, we are going to deal the Hulk a token. Obviously not able to damage him, but it is going to slow him down and hopefully give the Skrulls the advantage or swing this back in their favor. And then, again, we're over to the superheroes. So, At this point, the Hulk is pretty mad, so we're going to use his other ability, which is Quake. Quake is going to deal 2 damage to any enemies adjacent, so it's going to hit both of these. We've also got Close Combat Expert, so we'll get +1 attack. So we'll need 11 onto these guys, so we need a 6. We don't have any other theme probs, so there's not much we can do about that roll, and that does mean the Hulk is now double token once again. So that, that in cap, which should have got a token, was very important from Invisible Woman the previous turn. So because Mr. Fantastic has Plasticity, which is the blue power next to movement, that does mean she can only break away on a 6. It's to signify his limbs and how he can just trap characters next to him. Again, I think it's very, very thematic. So, okay. The luck continues for the Avengers, so she is going to get to sidestep. So she could, yeah, sidestep there and probably just shoot into Mr. Fantastic. So Mr. Fantastic is going to get his Skrull team ability on a 6, which fails. You're rolling 12 on an 18. Doubles is a hit. So that is going to hit. It's going to deal, how much damage have we got over here? So we've got 3 damage with Kate Bishop into the Skrull. We're going to need a 5 or 6 on super senses to avoid that with Mr. Fantastic. That's a 3. So he's going to take 1, 2, 3 clicks of damage. And we're going to pop him back where he was. He is looking worse for wear now, and the Avengers are starting to get a hand up in this one. Obviously the Hulk can't do anything, so he's going to rest. Kate Bishop is going to take her token, and the turn is coming to an end. So let's make an attack with Human Torch. It's 9 on a 19, needing a 10. And we get a 6. It's always going to be a tough ask there. I don't think there's much else we can do, honestly. Mr. Fantastic, let's take a look here. He's got a very similar dial, so he is going to sidestep next to her and attack. So we've got 9 on a 17, needing an 8. 1 off from the Skrull leader. So yeah, he's just going to get a token. And that is going to be the turn. That means Invisible Woman, since she didn't do anything, can rest, and it goes back to the Avengers. So again, with Kate Bishop, we're going to try and sidestep. So let's go roll this. That passes. So we're going to go 1, 2 back here. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. With Running Shot, we're going to try and get her out of here, get down this ladder and escape. Moved half her movement with Running Shot, meaning she can make an attack. So that's 12, 6. So that's going to be enough. We do need Shape Change, and we do need to try and remember that. And we failed, meaning another 3 damage to Mr. Fantastic. So he has got Toughness. In this case, Kate Bishop has Penetrating Psychic Blast, so it's going to go through that. So he's going to take a full 3. 1, 2, and he is KO'd. So Kate Bishop is cleaning up the Skrull here while Hulk keeps him in tow. Hulk is now going to make a Quake, so he's going to attack these two again. They do need to roll shape changes, so Human Torch and for Invisible Woman. They both fail. The Hulk is going to go, so that hits both of them. That's a nice big roll from the Hulk, meaning they take 2 damage each and can be knocked back if chosen. So in this case, she was hit earlier on, so she's going to take 1, 2 clicks of damage. I think we're going to keep her next to the Hulk because there's no reason to knock her back. This one does have Toughness, so he's only going to take 1 damage, but it is enough to finish the Human Torch off. And now things are looking very dire for those Skrull invaders, but good for Earth and the Avengers. So the Hulk is going to take a token for that, and it goes back to the Skrull. In this case, there's not much this Skrull can do. The only way it can even hurt the Hulk is with a crit. They're still going to fight as long as they can. At this point, I don't know how well that's going to go for them. Kate Bishop does have to rest this turn. So the Hulk is just going to try and swing in with a punch. 11 versus a 16, so we need a 5 for 4 damage. That is almost a crit, and that does mean, unless this shape change, which because of Skrull means it's going to be 4, 5, or 6. Okay, she survives and lives on. The Hulk did try to attack, so he still gets a token regardless. Kate Bishop can rest. She can also take a sidestep to get into the fray for free. And it's back to the Skrull. The Skrull's going to attack into the Hulk. Again, not really finding any luck with that. She's going to have to take a second token. And then it's over to the heroes. So Hulk can't do anything this turn, so we're going to have, just got to find line of fire. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 to here with Kate Bishop. And let's aim her right so it looks right. She is going to take a shot into the Invisible Woman, who's going to roll. Actually fail shape change. So 12 on a 16, needing a 4. They are the wrong dice. I'm still going to count it, so that's 3 damage onto Invisible Woman. She has no defense powers. 1, 2, and the Skrull invasion has been hampered. This is a very basic version of the game. It's just using the basic powers. Just wanted to show you how it works, how turns play out, and how you might play it at your table. If this has been any help at all, let me know in the comments below. My favorite thing about this is hearing stuff from you guys, the community, on how it's helped. Maybe got you into the game, fingers crossed. Let me know any questions you've got in the comments below. But let's head back to me inside to wrap this one up. And that is how you play Heroclix. Or some of it anyway. I do have videos on all the different powers and how they interact. If you've got any questions, like I say, drop them in the comments below. More than happy to help you. I'm sure there's a load of players that will. The next step will be finding an area or a game store near you where you can play the game, or just find some friends. That's what I do. Travel to events and have fun playing a truly unique miniature game. That's all I've got for this one though, so make sure you subscribe, leave a like if you want to see more miniature stuff, more tabletop games, card games, all of that. But I will catch you in the next one.